Welcome to this deep dive. We're stepping way back in time today, to the 9th century. And we're shining a light on a figure whose name, well, it might not be instantly familiar to everyone, but whose story, certainly based on the material we've got here, is absolutely worth exploring.
Definitely. We're talking about Abbas ibn Firnas.
That's the one.
And our focus for this deep dive is really unpacking the life and work of this pretty remarkable individual from Al-Andalus. We're drawing specifically from the excerpts provided in an article titled The Brave Inventor of Al-Andalus, Abbas ibn Firnas.
Right. And our mission is, well, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Understand who this person was, what our source tells us he achieved, and why the article argues he holds such a significant place in history.
And you'll find, I think, that his talents stretched across an incredible range.
Yeah, including one very famous, maybe slightly infamous, attempt at something humanity had dreamed of for ages.
Let's start by setting the scene, maybe. Put Ibn Firnas in his world, as the article does.
Good idea.
Yeah.
So who was he? The article tells us Abbas ibn Firnas lived approximately from 810 to 887.
Right.
His base was Córdoba, which back then was the thriving capital of the Umayyad Caliphate in Al-Andalus, basically modern-day Spain.
And the article really paints a picture of Córdoba in the 9th century as, much more than just a political capital. It describes it as a leading center of science, of culture, really, in the Islamic world. It calls this period the beginning of the golden age of Al-Andalus.
That sounds like an incredibly rich environment for thinking, for inventing.
Absolutely. The text points out this fascinating synthesis happening there. You've got knowledge flowing in and merging from Islamic, ancient Greek, even Indian cultures.
Wow.
And Ibn Firnas is presented as sort of a direct product of this fertile intellectual ground. He was clearly part of the intellectual elite.
And he wasn't just working alone in a workshop, was he? The article mentions he was held in high esteem at the court.
That's right, serving under Emir Muhammad I and especially Emir Abd al-Rahman II at the Umayyad Palace.
That kind of position, well, it must have given him significant resources, right? Support for his various projects.
You'd think so. It certainly speaks to the value they placed on learning and innovation within the court itself.
Yeah.
And this environment also fostered the ideal of the polymath. The article highlights that Ibn Firnas truly embodied this. He wasn't just stuck in one field.
No. It says he was a poet, a musician, an astronomer, and an engineer. Quite the mix.
A true master of many trades, centuries before, the European Renaissance idea really took hold.
Okay, so let's dive into those diverse talents. Let's look at some of his reported innovations.
Yeah, the article groups his main areas of work: engineering, astronomy, chemistry, physics, with a special mention for that flight attempt, of course.
And music, poetry too.
Right. But yes, while his work spanned all those fields, the most famous story, the one that often gets him mentioned, is his attempt at human flight.
Right. And the article doesn't describe this as like a sudden crazy idea. It suggests it was probably a planned experiment.
Based on observation.
Exactly. Resulting from long observation.
That's the key detail, isn't it? He wasn't just winging it, literally.
Right.
He observed birds, studied how they moved, and based on that, he designed a structure. Something intended for human flight.
And the article mentions materials.
Yes, wood, silk, and likely feathers, to construct what sounded like a very early glider, or maybe just a set of wings.
And he didn't keep it a secret either. The text notes he made it a public spectacle.
Yeah, launching himself from a high point in Córdoba. Some accounts, and the article mentions this detail, suggest it might have been from a mosque minaret.
Wow. That public nature, the source says, really underlines his confidence in the experiment.
Huge confidence. And the outcome, as described, was that he did achieve a degree of flight. He managed to glide through the air for a bit.
A short distance, yeah. But the landing, that wasn't quite as smooth.
No. The article explains he lost control during landing and, well, he was injured. And it gives a specific reason for this failure.
Which was?
He hadn't accounted for how birds use their tails. Not just their wings, but their tails for slowing down, for steering when they come in to land.
Ah, okay. So while the flight itself was this groundbreaking glide, the landing gave a critical lesson.
Exactly. The article really emphasizes the significance despite the crash.
Yeah.
It highlights this as one of the earliest recorded human flight or gliding attempts in history.
Yeah.
It was practical, grounded in observed aerodynamic principles.
And crucially, it provided that vital piece of information, the need for a tail, for control and landing.
It laid foundational knowledge, you could say, even through its partial failure. A really important step.
But as the article makes clear, his importance goes way beyond just this one, dramatic event.
Oh, definitely.
It also highlights his other significant contributions, focusing on their practical impact there in Al-Andalus.
Right, like in the production of glass. That's a major one the text mentions.
Glass, how so?
Well, the text states he was instrumental in introducing or maybe developing the technique for making transparent glass from sand locally in Al-Andalus.
Okay, why was local glass production such a big deal back then?
Because before this, transparent glass had to be imported, often expensively, from places like Egypt or Syria.
Oh, right.
So developing the ability to make it locally meant things like windows, containers. They became much more accessible within Al-Andalus. It helped with sort of technological self-sufficiency.
Makes sense. He also developed a precise water clock, the al-Makata.
Yes, the al-Makata, described as a complex device capable of accurately measuring time day and night.
Which would have been vital.
Absolutely vital technology for daily life administration, especially important for determining precise prayer times. It's highlighted as a significant feat of engineering.
Okay, and then there's his work with rock crystal. What was that about?
This seems like another example of him adapting or developing advanced techniques. The article notes that the mastery of cutting and processing hard rock crystal, well, that was a skill previously concentrated in places like Egypt.
So he brought that skill or developed it?
Developed it or brought it, yeah. Enabling the local creation of valuable objects from this material right there in Al-Andalus.
Impressive. And maybe the most, imaginative invention the article mentions a mechanical planetarium. He reportedly built it in his own home.
Doesn't that sound incredible? Something straight out of, clockwork fantasy.
Totally.
According to the article, this device simulated the movements of celestial bodies, planets, stars.
But the details are what get me.
Right. It apparently included effects like clouds and mechanically produced thunder and lightning.
That's amazing for the 9th century.
It wasn't just educational. It was a piece of cutting-edge technical artistry for its time, a real showpiece.
So when we pull back and look at his overall significance, his legacy, based purely on what this article presents, he really emerges as a truly pivotal figure for 9th century Al-Andalus.
The article notes that while maybe he didn't singularly revolutionize one specific field,
Right.
the sheer breadth and the practical nature of his work are what really stand out.
Exactly. His experimental approach, you see it so clearly in the flight attempt, right? Observation, design, testing. That reflects a genuinely scientific mindset.
It really does.
And his contributions like glassmaking, crystal cutting,
Yeah.
they really highlight his role in what we might call technology transfer and development today.
Good point. Taking knowledge, adapting it, applying it to build capability right there in Al-Andalus.
It wasn't just importing ideas. He was making them their own, developing them further.
Yeah, he truly embodies that ideal of the versatile scholar, the polymath, that was so characteristic of the golden age of Islam, according to the source.
And his courage, his willingness to literally take a leap based on his studies, combined with his innovative spirit across so many different areas, it certainly makes him a source of inspiration, doesn't it?
It does. And his story, as the article concludes, is also a valuable reminder that, the path of scientific and technological progress, it's rarely just a straight line of successes.
True.
Failures, like the landing of his glider, can be crucial. They provide essential lessons that pave the way for future breakthroughs.
So just to quickly recap the major achievements highlighted in the article.
Okay.
He made one of the earliest recorded human flight or gliding attempts. He was key to local transparent glass production in Al-Andalus.
The al-Makata water clock.
Right, the precise al-Makata water clock. He developed the technique for cutting rock crystal.
And the mechanical planetarium, with thunder and lightning.
Can't forget the thunder and lightning. A really remarkable set of accomplishments for one person in that era.
It really is. Makes you think.
It does. It makes you think about how much ingenuity existed in different parts of the world, different times. And building on that, and that polymath idea the article presents. Here's something maybe for you, the listener, to consider. In our modern world, we tend to value deep specialization, right? Focus on one thing.
Generally, yes.
What might we be missing by moving away from that broader polymathic approach that figures like Abbas ibn Firnas, according to this source, excelled at? Could combining knowledge from seemingly unrelated fields, could that be a key to unlocking new kinds of innovation today?
It's a fascinating question. Food for thought.
Just a thought to leave you with, drawn from this deep dive into the history presented in our source.